And hi, we're going to get started again. Good evening, everyone. I'm Debbie Dash. I'm the Vice Chair of Telfed, and it's really wonderful to see all of you here. And we are very, very fortunate this evening that we're going to hear from Dr. Yardena Bauer, and she will share with us how to manage emotional eating during wartime. I'm sure a lot of us have dealt with some of these issues when it hasn't been war. So I think that the stress of war causes things to exacerbate. So I am very much looking forward to this evening. And I want a really big thank you to Michelle Nathans, who many of you probably even know. She's our coordinator for volunteerism, community projects, and events. This was Michelle's idea, which was such a wonderful idea, and we're grateful for it. And we're grateful for you and your team, Michelle, for your dedication. And you're always bringing us such relevant topics like this to share with our community. So thank you so very much. In terms of some housekeeping issues before we start, one is if anybody hears a siren in the area, please follow home front command, the guidelines. Move to your protective space immediately. What we will do is we will take a 15-minute break if that happens. We will let the Zoom run through, and when you're finished or you're out of your protective space, you can rejoin us. Also know that this event is going to be recorded and on our YouTube channel, so you can go and see any things that you missed. But please God, we won't have any sirens. Also, what I would like to ask you all to do, please, is to mute yourselves, because Dr. Bowen is going to entertain all the questions at the very end. You can put them in the chat. And at the end of her talk, she will she'll have an answer and question period. And the other thing is that we at Telfed are so very, very fortunate to have two outstanding social workers. One is Ariella Siegel and the other one is Louise Gever. So please feel free to contact them should you have any concerns. Michelle is going to put their phone numbers on our chat, so you will have them. The other thing is, if you know of any Southern Africans or Australians in the community who have been directly affected by the war, please let us know so we can reach out to them. We have been in contact with our community during good times and especially during crisis, and there are things that people need, and we would like to be there for them. So please let us know. If you don't tell us, we don't know about them. So without a break now, we're going straight into meeting Dr. Yardena
I don't
Bauer.
need to speak.
Sorry? Oh, can you please mute yourselves? Thanks. Dr. Yardena Bauer is a highly qualified professional with an impressive academic background and an expertise in the fields of psychology, physiology, dietetics, nutrition, neuroscience, and endocrinology. She holds a Bachelor's of Science in Psychology and Physiology and a Master's in Dietetics and Nutrition and a PhD from Hebrew University. Dr. Bauer's academic journey reflects her dedication to understanding the intricate connection between nutrition, hormones, and the brain, particularly in the context of women's health. So at this point in time, I would like to pass it over to you, Dr. Yardena Bauer, and we are really excited to hear what you have to share with us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Debbie and Michelle. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. I'm quite excited because I'm not doing bedtime. So I got to get out the house in chaos mode. So lately, I've been feeling like the last few days, and let's be honest, weeks it's been now, has been like COVID with a newborn baby and with the threat of the apocalypse. In that, it's COVID because we are all a little bit too scared to leave our houses, not to go too far, not to have too many gatherings of too many people. It's a newborn baby because we are not getting sleep. We are demented with sleep deprivation, and it's actually scary. It is it's quite a scary situation that we are in. Hearing the rockets, the booms overhead, it has been scary. And last year when we lived in an apartment that had a miklat, and we would all go downstairs and be together. And this year we have a mamad. This is the actual picture of my children all asleep in the mamad in the house. And while the mamad is, I can't underestimate how wonderful it is that my kids are now getting sleep through the night. I actually miss the miklat. I miss being with people. It's been very lonely. It's been, I felt a little bit alone being in the miklat, being in the mamad, not knowing what's going on, not having that guy in the corner with his radio from 19 foot sake, he knows where the missile came from before anyone even knows. And, there was the teenager who was braiding my daughter's hair and just being together. And actually, they've found that when they do experiments on animals, ochre whales and with mice, when they socially isolate them, we find that they have an elevated fear response and increased aggression. The stress result makes them feel it gets worse because they are isolated. And at the moment, we are all living in a very tense time. I was trying to explain to my family in Australia what it's like because it does feel a little bit like no one in the rest of the world is actually so supportive of us. And I was saying to her, it's imagine your phone at random times has a fire alert going off, but you don't know when it's going to be. It is intrusive, it is loud, it is a jarring sound that interferes with your life. And then we hear these booms overhead of the rockets exploding. And so, of course, we end up trying to make ourselves feel better. And we need to understand that when we land up eating, we are actually trying to look after ourselves. It is a form of healing, but it is seeming like to us that nothing is working. We can go from sweet to sour, and then we go back to sweet, and then, okay, I'll get something salty, so I'll get chips, and then I'm gonna have popcorn, but then I'm gonna go have some brownies, and that's the searching. Like almost, I feel like we're like squirrels, like in opening the fridge, looking in the fridge, there's nothing to eat, closing the fridge, going to the cupboard, looking at the cupboard, looking there, eating something, ugh, stale pretzels, putting them away, thinking, oh my God, I need to clean for Pesach. Then going back to the fridge and then back to the cupboard. And at the same time, making lists of things. And the food is giving us comfort and it's still, and we're eating for a good reason. And it still isn't working because we are in such a high level of stress. And this is why I'm excited to talk to us today because we need to understand this. I'm Dr. Yardena Bauer. I'm a hormone dietitian and I have a PhD in neuroscience and endocrinology. I work with women and men. I work mainly with women who have PCOS, gestational diabetes, menopause, and I do lots of training. And I do keynote talks to different organizations on various topics about hormones and nutrition. And today we are going to be talking about the war, the stress, and our coping mechanisms of eating. And I think it is such an important topic because we all have this. Stress is part of our lives. It's not going away. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about why why we experience this desire to eat and what else we can do. I also want to say that if you want to ask any questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat. I think we're going to just have the chat. We'll do it at the end and so we can keep the flow, but do feel free to add your questions and we can do them at the end. Okay, so stress is part of life. We have stress every day. We experience stress when we're stuck in traffic and we're late for work. We experience stress when we spill coffee. We are stressed when we don't have internet connection. Stress is generally defined as a physical or psychological effect that causes a response in our brain and our body, and it becomes stressful when it exceeds our coping mechanism. So cortisol is the stress hormone that is the hormone that governs our stress response. Now, if you look at the slide, you see that this is our response to stress. The first thing that happens is there's an increase in blood sugar. There is increased heightened memory and attention. There's an increase in blood pressure. Our immune system is suppressed. There's a decreased sensitivity to pain and a decrease in serotonin. And I'm going to explain why all of these are here to serve a really important purpose. So, for example, decreased serotonin. So serotonin is a neurotransmitter that makes us feel like happy, content, calm. Now, if there's a siren, if we feel happy, content, and calm, well, we're not going to get up and move. We're going to be like, oh, there's a siren. Oh, that's not good. Carry on with life. No, we need to respond accordingly. So, for example, we've heard of stories of our soldiers who've been on battle with bullet wounds, and they're able to keep walking and keep functioning on the field because they have a suppressed pain response. They don't feel the pain. We also see people who seek out this cortisol rush by doing, for some reason, these sports that have high danger because of the increased focus and the increased attention that they are able to achieve in a dangerous situation. We also have, for example, on race day, that athletes are able to excel and exceed their time. And that is because of this extra blood glucose and blood pressure that is as a result of the cortisol that makes them excel even more under stress. So stress has its purpose. There is good stress and there is bad stress. And the good stress is there to get us off our tuchus and to get us to go and to respond to the situation, to say, there is a fire, I need to respond. And so the body makes excess glucose, excess blood pressure, focus, and go to the mamad. Don't just say, oh, but I wanted to send the email or put a wash in. No, the sound is alarming and it's jarring and it's horrible to give us the cortisol rush so that we will respond to the acute stress appropriately. There are generally three responses to stress: fight, flight, and freeze. So if we look at this graph, we have we have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic response to stress. If you look at the bottom, we have this green area. This is called the ventral vagal and is the parasympathetic nervous system. This is our response to stress on an everyday basis. It allows us to be curious, grounded in the present. We go into stress and then we come out of stress. We don't have signal and then we get signal. Our computer crashes, our computer restarts. We're late for work, the traffic flows. So that when we get into stress and then we are able to get ourselves out of stress. Then we have the sympathetic nervous system, which is here in the red, in the fight or flight. This is when we get into an increased state of stress, more than an acute response, but over weeks or months or a continuous state of stress. And this is when we have the fight, which is the move towards the stress, or the flight, the move away. The fight in the sympathetic response is rage, anger, irritation. The flight is anxiety, fear, and panic. And then we get to the place, which is when there's been stress for even a longer amount of time, when we get to the dorsal vagal and we say, I can't do this anymore. I don't care about the washing. I don't care about the cleaning. I don't care. I don't care anymore. It's when I've been literally like the last few days, people are like, there's no end. When is this going to end? When are the kids going to go back to school? When am I going to be able to work? There is this feeling of there's no hope, shut down, immobility, disconnected, numb. I don't care anymore. So to understand the way we respond to stress, we have our fighters. The I can, the moving towards the stress. So our fighters often will experience irritation and anger. It is, I promise you, I said, I'm going to teach my 7-year-old how to read. By the end of this war, she's going to be reading. We'll remember COVID, those people who made the Excel sheets with okay, we're going to wake up and do squats. And then after the squats, it's going to be cookie making. And then we're going to do the laundry and everyone's going to fold. And it's going to be so much fun. And the people who want to over respond to the stress. Those are our fighters. Then we have our flighters. The flighters say, I'm aware there's a stress in front of us, but I'm going to take my mind elsewhere. I'm going to consume the news. If I know every single piece of news that is happening, I will feel more in control because I know what's going on. Or we have the flighters who will over prepare for Armageddon. I kid you not, my husband is a flighter. We have smoke masks. We have dehydrated eggs in case there is a food storage. We have tins. We have cans. We have fire hydrants. He is a flighter. He is the what if this happens? Let me be extra prepared. Now, a fighter and a flighter will end up marrying each other, and that brings a whole other talk and situation together. And then we have freeze. I actually freeze is when we look at the laundry. Who cares? You don't want to do Zoom, kids? Whatever. Let's just watch TV all the time. Put the screens on. I'm going to eat whatever I want to eat. I'm going to watch whatever I'm going to watch. I don't care anymore. And that's a very hard place when we get to freeze. And because of this continuous rocket and missile alerts and not knowing when the next one's going to be, and even when there isn't the alert, we hear it in our heads. We have like phantom hearing the alert. Oh, was that a siren? Did you hear that? And because we are on an elevated state of stress, our cortisol is so high that we are all going between fight, flight, freeze. We're not always exclusively just in the one state. Sometimes we can go between all three. So why do we end up in the kitchen? What has food got to do with stress? Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the neurotransmitters. And I think it's important to know that when we are in the state of stress and we turn to food, what we're actually trying to do is make ourselves feel better. It's a form of self-care and self-love. So food works. Food works every single time. Food is loyal. Food will never let us down in that it will always be delicious. But we have to understand how food works and why we choose the foods we do. Because when we are going to the kitchen, we're not thinking, oh, I'm going to make an omelette now. No, we want quick food. We want high palatability food. We want food that's normally sweet, salty, and can often go between both of them. So serotonin and dopamine are two neurotransmitters that are very important. So serotonin is the neurotransmitter that makes us feel content, happy with who we are. I'm enough. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter that makes us want to achieve. It's the feeling we get when we conquer our goals after we climb the mountain. It's a certain amount of effort is involved in getting good dopamine. We can also get quick dopamine that we get through gambling and we get through scrolling and we get through eating. So what happens is we are in stress and cortisol goes up. And remember that cortisol is going to increase our appetite because it's going to increase our blood sugar, which is going to cause insulin to be secreted, which means we're going to need more sugar. Our brain wants quick energy to enable us to focus, run, use all our muscles. And it also wants quick comfort. So we want to activate the reward regions of the brain where serotonin and dopamine work, and we want to get relief, even if it is temporary, because afterwards we have to always deal with the guilt. Oh, why did I do that? I shouldn't have gone to eat. I should have gone for a walk, or I should have just, done some squats or journaled. I should have done something else. I should have just had some water. When we come out of the eating phase, we're like, where am I? What just happened? But when we are eating, it works. It works. And because we are also so tired at the moment, we are so tired and demented with Zooms and homework and trying to do our own work with our kids around. And it's too much. So we just want something that's going to be comforting and soft and nice and something that's just going to feel good, even if it's temporary. So food, and in particular, a food that is a sugar and a fat and a salt, is the fastest way to change our brain chemistry. So even if we say, I'm going to stock up my fridge with healthy food and good options, which is a good thing to do, because if you don't have the good options, well, all that's left is a quick fix. We still will find the quick fix. And what we need to understand is that sugar is highly addictive. So sugar works. And I think this is very important. Sugar will activate serotonin and dopamine, and it will make us feel, albeit for a short time, but it will give us a temporary relief that will just give us an exhale to be like, okay, it's okay. Things are okay. I feel a reward. I feel something good. And that is in the brain regions that are called the reward regions in the brain and the limbic regions. And what they have found is that sugar in the brain lights up the same networks as cocaine. And that is why we get into an addiction. It's not just enough to have one piece of chocolate. We want the whole slab of chocolate. We don't just want one chip. We want more chips, more popcorn, more chocolate, more. That is dopamine. Dopamine makes us want more and more of something, but it's also highly rewarding. So it also feels really good. And so we have to change the feeling of guilt that we give ourselves of why can't you just have more self-control? Why can't I just not go to the kitchen when I'm feeling stressed? Why can't I just do something else? We have to understand that just like a drug addict is drawn like a magnet to the drugs. So when we have a sugar addiction, we become drawn like a magnet to relieve the stress and to give us the comfort that we get from sugar and eating. There's another neurotransmitter that a lot of people are not as familiar with that I just want to introduce you to, which is called glutamate. Has anyone heard of glutamate? Just well. So glutamate is an excitatory neurotransmitter. And the problem that we also have, besides for the emotional eating, is the boredom eating. I had my neighbor tell me my aura ring tells me that I am not stressed. I'm not stressed. I'm the least stressed I've ever been. She said, I said, that's great. She goes, but I am so bored. I am bored out of my mind. There is nothing to do. I am done. So when we also get to being in the freeze zone, we get more bored. We get more feelings of, I don't care anymore. I don't feel anything. And the body wants to reactivate that energy. And so we want to increase glutamate. And glutamate is excitatory, it's stimulation, it's solving puzzles, it's learning something new. So, my top three foods that I would recommend we all have stocked in our fridge that are going to increase our amino acids, and our amino acids of tryptophan and tyrosine are precursors of serotonin and dopamine. So the foods we have to have are going to be proteins, but there are specific proteins that I want to emphasize that will help us when we are in emotional eating mode, comfort eating mode, stress eating mode. And these are cottage cheese and yogurt and eggs. I'm going to start with these three. Cottage cheese, we also need a bit of fat. So not the 3% one, definitely not the 1% cottage cheese. We want at least the 5% cottage cheese, but you can even go higher to a 9% cottage cheese, which is fine. And the cottage cheese is very high in glutamate, and that glutamate gives stimulation to the brain that actually will help stop the sugar cravings. So let's say we're in the middle of the running in the wheel of sugar, 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 and I can't stop, and I leave the room and I come back to the room and I leave the room and I'm eating all the way and I need more. A little bit of cottage cheese can help break that cycle. Same as yogurt, the higher percentage, the better. No low-fat yogurt. We need either pro yogurt or a Greek yogurt. And the yogurt also is good for the microbiome because it's got bacteria in it. And remembering that 95% of serotonin is made in the intestine. That's why I also have a lot of my clients at the moment telling me that their bowels just aren't working. Their irritable bowel syndrome's worse, or if they've got Crohn's or colitis, it's also gone worse because 95% of serotonin is made in the gut, in the intestine. So that is the gut brain barrier is the gut brain connection is very strong, and we can actually impact how we feel in our minds by what we eat. And so probiotics and prebiotics and fiber become very important for our gut health to make serotonin. The next one is eggs. Okay, so eggs are a superfood, superfood. They have all the amino acids. So we have 20 amino acids, nine are essential. That means the body can't make them. We have to eat them. And eggs have one of the highest satiety scores as a food. So that means that they'll keep us full for longer. The longer we are full, we don't have to control our appetite because we're just not hungry. So this is a very important thing. The easiest way to control our appetite is to not be hungry. So I highly recommend focusing on eggs. And because none of us have time, I say boil 10 eggs and just put them in your fridge. Just have them ready. Because we are lazy and we don't have time. And when we are hungry, we don't feel like, oh, I'm going to boil eggs. No, we're lazy and we can't be bothered. And when we are hungry, we want to eat now. Because even if we know intellectually that we're not physiologically hungry, there's another part of our brain called the hedonic region. And that is another way of eating. That is eating from the pleasure of food, from the serotonin and dopamine that food gives us. That is why we know we don't need dessert. We know we've just eaten a whole Shabbos meal. We are not hungry, but yet we'll make space for dessert. We want to eat. It's not that we need to eat, we want to eat. And then I've brought in two foods that you might think are a bit obscure. The one is sardines, and the one is Parmesan cheese. Now, before you pull your face at sardines, sardines are the ultimate superfood. We eat the bones, so you get the calcium, you get omega-3s, which are anti-inflammatory, brilliant for the brain, and also really, really good for our moods, is the omega-3 to have a high omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. And sardines and Parmesan cheese in particular, have a high glutamate concentration. So let's say you're going to say, I'm not eating sardines. If you can eat sardines, fantastic. By the way, for fertility, sardines are a brilliant food. They have high coenzyme Q10, also really good for energy when we're all just so tired. Sardines are going to be great. Parmesan cheese. So I think that Parmesan cheese is a fantastic food to be eating. And I know you're scared about the cholesterol, but don't be. That's another talk that we should do another time. But we don't have to be scared about the cholesterol from the Parmesan cheese. That the Parmesan cheese, because of its salty and its textures, and it's also been aged. And the way it's made uses prebiotics. And so it is a fermented cheese. And that's also going to help our gut microbiome. And it's going to increase glutamate because it is naturally concentrated. It's going to give us our stimulation. And all of these foods, cottage cheese, yogurt, eggs, sardines, and Parmesan cheese, they're not expensive. You can keep them in your fridge and they're ready and easy to eat. The other way we can also feel calmer is magnesium. So magnesium is a natural tranquilizer that helps us feel calm. So what I like to say is to make like a trail mix of pumpkin seeds, almonds, and dark chocolate. And then when we're just feeling like, let's say we can't fall asleep because we're listening out for the siren, or because we feeling like we've been on edge, then it's lovely to have some dark chocolate. The higher the percentage, the better for getting magnesium. And because it's got such a high concentration of magnesium and it isn't so high in sugar, it doesn't send us on the addiction of I need more and more and more. You can all try this as an experiment and let me know, but it's very difficult to eat a whole slab of dark chocolate. Top deck. Easy. I could eat five top dicks and not even notice and go looking for the next. But when it comes to dark chocolate, it's very difficult to eat the whole amount of dark chocolate because the body will automatically send off a message of saying it's too much. I can't eat any more. Okay. What else? What else can I do? Is there anything else I can do that isn't food? Like, how else can I activate my serotonin and dopamine and decrease my cortisol? Okay, very important is to name what we are feeling and to feel it. What we want to not do, so to name and feel, which is important. And sometimes I feel like with feelings, I'm like, I don't really know what I'm feeling. I'm just feeling stressed and anxious and overwhelmed and just worried. And what we need to be doing, sometimes I think of back to the movie of in what's it called, Inside, not Inside Out, what's it called? Yeah, Inside Out. What are their emotions? And they almost teach me, remind me what our emotions are, that there's sad and joy, and there's fear, and there's disgust, and there's anger. But we have to be able to name our emotions. If we don't see our emotions, they become bigger and bigger and bigger, and they will become overwhelm us until we address them. It's the way I was saying, with our emotions, it's the need to be able to address them, because if we don't address them, they're not going to go away. They just get bigger. So it's when my family says to me, well, at least there is the Iron Dome, or, well, at least the hostages are out. Yes, these things are true, but they disregard the pain that I am in. As soon as somebody gives us an at least and a silver lining to our pain, it actually makes our pain even bigger, because we need to be able to feel. And yes, while these things are true, that at least there is an Iron Dome, thank God there's an Iron Dome, I am still worried about my girl in Kita Aleph, and how is she going to learn to read? Because I'm in the freeze place already, and I don't want to be teaching her anymore how to read. And I am worried about the long-term damage that is going to be done to my 9-year-old who's anxious. So when somebody says to me, well, at least you have a Ma'amad, it takes away what I'm feeling, and it disregards it. What I would highly recommend that we all do is move away from cheap dopamine. Wanting to feel better is so important. We need to do it by going outside, by getting sun. We need to do it by doing squats at home. We need to be doing it by healthy means and not through our phones. If we can try even once a day, go for an hour, go on a social media fast. Not an intermittent feed, or not intermittent eating fast, but a social media fast. We have to get off our phones. We need real connection. We don't need to know what everyone else is doing, how everyone in the world is preparing for Pesach, except for us, because we have children eating everywhere we just cleaned. We need to be able to connect with ourselves and with others. And social media is fake dopamine. And it literally, how dopamine works on the phones, they've made it like a lottery machine, like, you pull down because they want you to make that effort. It's like we're gambling, we're getting cheap dopamine. Is it fun and exciting? Yes. These people work to make it fun and exciting so that we will stay connected and stay addicted to our phones. We need to get off our phones. We need to be able to say, I'm not going to go onto Instagram. I'm not going onto TikTok. I'm not going onto Facebook. I'm just not. So, is this a scary time? Yes. This is scary. There are missiles. It is scary, and we're hearing the booms overhead, and it is scary and it is stressful. Are we all sleep deprived? Totally. Are we demented with sleep deprivation? It's making us even hungrier. It's making us irritable. It's making us aggravated and acting out like we wouldn't normally. We just don't have bandwidth. But is it COVID? No. We're not allergic to each other. And we need to be deliberate in connecting, putting our phones away and connecting in real time with people. The last neurotransmitter that I'm going to introduce to you is oxytocin. Oxytocin is often called the love hormone. It is when a man and a woman are deeply connected. It is released. It is released with a deep hug. It is released when we have hug dogs. A few years ago, there weren't so many dogs in Israel. The dog explosion in Israel only happened after COVID. because everyone was lonely and alone. So we need to go find someone. You got your neighbor's got a dog, go take care of their dog. We need give their dog a hug, give our children's a hug. We need deep conversations. We're not allergic to each other this time. I remember I used to walk through Woolworths. Oh, bless the Woolies. And people would like, and during COVID, like run away from each other and not greet each other because, oh no, we can't be too close and we can't be together. But this isn't the case. We need to be together. We need to be with each other. Invite your friend over. Say, I've got a marmad. Let's have tea together. And we can go down to the marmad together if there's a siren. Take other people a meal. I actually had this idea that I wonder if there's something that can be done. Like find five of your friends. We all on friend groups or bridge groups or, find five of your friends and make a meal rotation. Even if it's just boiling eggs for each other and just work it out and say, I'm going to make the food Monday, you'll do Tuesday, Michelle will do Thursday, Lynette will do Friday. And we just make each other meals, not gourmet meals, just something cute, dropping each other food, sharing food. That's one of the reasons why Shabbat's so wonderful, because we share food together and it increases oxytocin, which makes us feel loved, which makes us feel good about ourselves. Lo tov hiyot ha'adam levado. It is not good for man to be lonely. We need each other and we need to be together. And I'm going to finish with this quote from Brene Brown that says, connection is why we're here. We are hardwired to connect with others. It's what gives purpose and meaning to our lives. And without it, there is suffering. Is this stressful? Yes. Is this a hard time? Oh my God, yes. I think I was demented today with kids who weren't listening, and I was at my edge and I didn't have extra bandwidth to be able to deal with them. We need to make deliberate effort to get out of our houses, to be together, and to increase our oxytocin, our serotonin, our dopamine, and our glutamate naturally so that we are able to have healthy mechanisms to manage the stress. Okay. So I'm going to finish here. If you have any questions, we're going to open the chat now. You can unmute yourself and ask. You can also follow me. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm starting to post some tips of different things that we can do. And you can also, you're welcome to private message me on social media before you get off the social media. And then I'm also happy to come to different communities in order to speak about different topics regarding our hormones and nutrition and lifestyle interventions. So let's open the chat. There've been a few messages. I don't know if there's okay. When eating eggs, this is the first question. When eating, hold on, let me just have some water. Okay. The first question that is here is when eating eggs, does it include the yolk? Yes, 100%. The yolk is brilliant. So in the 19, this is my talk about cholesterol and heart health, but I will just say here that in the 1970s, they thought that eating cholesterol in food would cause cholesterol in the blood. And what they found is that actually is not the case. They put everyone on cholesterol-free diets, no meat, no cheese, no eggs, and they found that the cholesterol in food does actually not cause the increase in cholesterol in the blood. So you can have the yolks, you can have a lot of eggs. I like to say about 4 eggs a day because people like a number, but really it's fine. It'll keep you full the whole day. If you are worried and you don't believe me, pop me a message and I'll send you the science on eggs because eggs are really fantastic with the yolks. So that's the first question. Also great protein. Sardines in oil is also fine, absolutely fine. Doesn't matter what they come with. Eat the sardines. If you can eat the sardines, great. I remember once Pick and Pay had it's so fun being able to talk about Pick and Pay on my like one of these webinars that I'm giving. But this they had like they tried to put Pick and Pay tried to put like superheroes on top on the sardine cans, trying to get kids to like be excited about sardines. I don't think it worked, but it's great. Sardines in oil, fine. Eat them, enjoy them. Fantastic. Okay, next question. Does natural sugar have the same effect on the brain as added sugar? Not sure what you mean by natural sugar versus added sugar. It's a great question. In the end of the day, our body doesn't eat calories. and our body doesn't absorb food. Our body absorbs molecules. So if you're talking about natural sugar being in a honey or an agave or a Ceylon, it's ultimately going to become a glucose molecule, which is the same as sugar. So the body will read it the same way. And what happens with sugar is insulin is secreted. And as soon as insulin is secreted, we want more sugar. And people who are insulin resistant will ultimately go into have a blood sugar spike and then want more and more and more. People who are insulin resistant will often have break out in acne on their face, a bit of hair growth, and gain weight, especially around the stomach. We really need to understand insulin resistance and methods that and tips of how to manage insulin resistance. But yes, all sweet, all honey, agave, sugar, all the same. Brown sugar is also the same as white sugar from the brain's perspective. How to handle other people's overeating and how to help them. That's a great question because it is really painful to see people around us struggling with their food. People who are overeating know they're overeating. It's not something that we don't know. It's something that we all are aware of. And so we can increase other neurotransmitters, such as if they, love getting outside, hugs, good conversations, having wholesome meals together, cooking together, making big food, allowing big meals and eating together and allowing food. Sometimes we got to also wonder what's going on behind the overeating. I need to know if is the overeating because of sleep deprivation? Is it an avoidance? Is it boredom? What's causing the overeating? And then we can help decipher it. But also to know to give yourself a little bit of self-love. Because it is painful watching people who are overeating. But don't tell them. They know. They know. We all know when we're eating badly. Rather model good behavior, encourage to do it together. But we try not shame because as soon as we point it out and we shame, then people just want to eat more to increase their oxytocin, their serotonin, and their dopamine. Where can I find plain sardines? I am not sure. I can look around and I can send it through. What about fruit? So with fruit fruit we need to, fruit depends on how we eat it and when we eat it, but fruit can be fine. It depends on how we respond. Like grapes have a very, very high glycemic index and we can end up eating too many grapes and then we have a glucose response. So we often can be very self-aware. A lot of this is also becoming self-aware. Somebody else asks, what else can I do? Okay, exercise. I haven't spoken about everything. There's so many things. We got to get outside. You don't have to go to an exercise class. We just have to move. Do star jumps star jumps. Do 10 of those, 10 squats. Move, walk outside, walk around the block, walk within a 10-second radius of the house so that you can come back to a McClut when you need. But we need to get out the house. We need to be able to get one of the other neurotransmitters, endorphins. We have to be able to increase that. Journaling is a great way to make sense of what's going on in our brains. Um, and a breathing exercise that somebody has written here, they also want to say that breathing is a very effective way. So I didn't bring about breathing, but what breathing does, and actually very important to teach you about breathing, is it's not to have the same amount of inhale. I don't know if you've ever heard about the box, in for four, hold for four, out for four. What we actually want to do, it's called the physiological sigh. It was studied during COVID, which is the ultimate way of being able to naturally activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So if you remember, if we're in fight or flight and we want to get into the green area at the bottom, is you could breathe in for like, let's say 3, 1, 2, 3, hold, and then out for double them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Um, so it's the opposite of hyperventilating. When the way breathing works so well is, a kid, when they cry, they're like, and then when they calm themselves down, they go, that's the physiological side. It is the quickest way to get ourselves out of fight or flight and into parasympathetic. I actually think it might be quicker than food, but it doesn't get the reward as food does. coffee intake. I'm just going to finish with this because coffee intake is a whole talk. Coffee's actually been shown recently. I read a paper that coffee and tea with the caffeine has been shown to help reverse Alzheimer's, which is great because I drink about 20 bags of Joker tea a day. But yeah, coffee is great. But if it gives you the shakes, then know yourself. Don't have it on an empty stomach. Don't have more than two a day. And decaf, try decaf if it works for you. Otherwise, just we also need to know ourselves and trust ourselves and love ourselves because we actually know a lot of what we need to be doing, and we know we just need to do it. We just so set ourselves up to win and don't do it alone. I think we should end on that. And if there are any more questions, feel free to message me. My number's here, and you can contact me with absolute pleasure. We'll finish there.
Yardena, that was absolutely amazing and fascinating presentation. I learned a heck of a lot. You've really managed to take a very complex scientific concept and make them accessible to us. And more importantly, you've given us tools to try to counter some of the things that we've been doing. You've helped us move forward from the idea of willpower and self-control towards like a scientific understanding of how our brain actually handles stress and how to activate our serotonin and dopamine to reduce the cortisol. I also love the whole idea of the brain and body connection, how physiological state directly impacts our emotional choices. And I really identify with the idea of connecting in real time to people, but not through fake dopamine, as you said, social media, but rather through real and meaningful interactions. I think that we are all acting as if we are living in times of COVID and isolation, and we need to turn that around. And it's safe to entertain at home because we do have Mama Dim, as you said. I want to thank you very, very much. This came at a timely period in our lives, and you've provided us with some very practical steps to help us rebalance our system during some very stressful times. So thank you very, very much. I also want to thank Michelle again for organizing this and all the staff and the leadership for making this evening possible. And to our community for your engagement, for showing up and being here. We really love to provide programs for you. And if you have any ideas, please reach out to Michelle. Michelle, if you can put your contact details, Michelle Nathans, as I mentioned before. And if you have ideas, she can see if she can make these things happen. And the last thing is please stay safe, stay healthy. We hope for a very, very quiet night. Shabbat Shalom and Bsorot Tovot to everybody. Laila Tov. Thank you.